talk about how the typical romance scam works.
Yeah, you know what? The one thing I always like to tell people about scams and fraud in general is that it's never like one particular thing, right? Fraudsters are arguably a little bit more sophisticated than that. They piece things together. And so, whether it's in romance scams or in just regular financial fraud, like they get one bit of information about you from, like, say, one site or on social media, and then they combine it with another bit of information. And that's how they can sort of build a whole profile about you. And then they find then the points of weakness where they can sort of attack your vulnerabilities, right? And then that's where they can determine, I'm going to commit some form of fraud. I'm going to try to seek money or seek some other kind of advantage over this person. So it's usually this triangulation that people do. And that's the hardest part because it isn't like, oh, I did this one thing and I prevented it, right? You have to kind of look at it as a web, and you have to put a web up to defend yourself.
So, for a romance scam, what kind of information are scammers looking for that you may have out there that you don't know about? What should we be cleaning up on the internet?
Yeah, well, the first thing is just do a Google search for yourself. And what we always recommend people do is do it in what's called incognito mode. So you're actually doing a search the way someone else would search for you. If you're already logged into Google, you're getting results that are already pre-fed about you. So it's not the right data that you want to see. So do a Google search. Do it in incognito mode. And then what you'll probably sadly find are a lot of the results about you are from these sites known as people search websites. And frankly, they're all scams. These are all bad actors. They're just trying to make a buck off of your information. They buy your personal information from large data aggregators, and they construct pages in such a way that Google can index them. And they basically are publishing your personal information out on the open internet. And so when you then tie that back into, romance or dating scams or things involved with dating sites, as soon as someone gets your name, both your first name and last name and where you live, it's super easy for them to take that bit of information, Google search you, find you on these people search websites, and then start to, create a profile on who is this person, right? Who are, your siblings? Where did you live? How much money do you make? What kind of car do you drive? They can build a whole profile on you and then go, you know what? This person looks like a good target, and then we're gonna, you know, try to see what happens and if we can commit some bad actions against them.
If you've been chatting with someone, what are some red flags to look out for, especially if it's someone, you just met on the internet? What are some red flags that you should be looking out
Yeah,
for?
the number one thing is if they're asking a lot of personal information questions, because again, that's what they need to, commit their particular fraud. So if they're asking, oh, where do you live, and what kind of car do you drive, like the more details that they can get about you is what you have to be worried about. So it's really like take it easy, take it slow, and what we always recommend people do, especially, is don't give out, like, if you don't have to, don't give out your last name right away. Stick with your first name. Don't give out your actual cell phone number. So if you're kind of new into the dating world and you're kind of activating your profile, create what's called a burner phone number. So it's very easy to go online and just search for, voice over IP phone numbers. Get a phone number that you don't care about, that you don't use every day on your cell phone, and use that to be listed with the dating services or to give out to someone. And similarly, create a fake email address that, again, it's the little things that give you away. So, like, what a lot of people will do is they put their last name, right? It's very common for us to put our first name and last name on everything. So that's what we do when we create an email address. And then the fraudster can have your information that way just from your email address. So basically, create a burner phone number, create a burner email address. Don't give out your last name. Don't give out your city where you live, at least at the beginning, right? Until you feel that this is the right person and potentially this is someone you can trust. Don't rush into giving out that information. And actually, it's kind of funny, but like use the people search sites to your advantage, which is like Google search the person that is interested in connecting with you and finding out information about them and piece their story together. So, just as they're trying to do the same thing about you, you almost have to play the game and do it on them and see if their story checks out. Um, I will also mention one thing when you're doing that. Google has a great system where you can actually upload photos and it'll basically check to see if they're valid or if they're photos that have been reused by fraudsters across the internet. Um, this story is very relevant. We have a nanny, and she had come over from Europe to work with us, and she was less familiar with some of the online dating services, and she was a little bit older. And she, got all these invites to connect, and people were like, "Oh, I'm your soulmate. I'm this. I'm that." And she was like, "Oh my God, look at these guys are amazing. They're great looking. Like here's my soulmate." And we actually had to do everything I'm describing to show her. I'm like, this guy doesn't exist. And, here's this photo on 50 other websites, that this person is not real. And, sadly, that's what you have to do in this day and age. Um, I guess one other comment is also a lot of the dating services in particular now offer background checks. I would encourage people to do those if you're getting serious. I wouldn't say you have to do them right at the beginning, but a good thing to do as you progress. I'm a little hesitant on fully recommending them because um, they're not very comprehensive. So it's kind of like a high level search that they do because of the price point. So, it's a good thing to do. It can't hurt you, but don't take it for fact.
And I guess my last question, when we hear about these things and people who get victimized by romance scams and lose all this money, it seems like something so far off that would never happen to you. But how common are they? I mean, how much money are people losing with these scams?
Yeah, I mean, I think the last stat I saw was that it was nearly $500 million was lost in these online kind of scams just in 2021. I haven't seen the stats compiled yet for 2022, but you're over $500 million a year just in these kind of simple romance related kind of scams is what people report on.
And this is money that is notoriously hard to get back, right? And track down who these people.
Almost impossible to get back because even if you can track the person down, they've already spent the money. The money's gone. So, how do you reel that back in? And sadly, unfortunately, it's your fault at the end of the day, right? You can try to sue the person, but the person probably doesn't even have money or they live in a foreign country, so trying to go after them is difficult. And there's so many cases that it's hard for the police departments to try to track everyone down and build cases. So it's not unless it's a significantly high dollar value kind of fraud or a ring that it's the police can take them down. So a lot of people get defrauded out of five, 10, $20,000, and those people just disappear with it, and so on. So one of your earlier questions was like things to be for red flags, like anyone asking you for money early or throughout just the early process of dating, like massive red flag. Like no one that truly is your soulmate's just going to be asking you for money right away.